there, CW here. How you doing today? Hope everyone's well. You caught me loading up some 8mm Mausers, and I thought I'd take you along for the ride today. I've got all the cases primed, sized, trimmed, and I'm just charging the last one with powder. That's the last of that. That was 4320 powder. So everything is charged up now. We've got a little ladder going on here. I've got just above the maximum load by 1/10, and then 0.5 less, 0.5 less, 0.5 less, 0.5 less. And we're going to load these up with some Hornady 170 grain interlocks. It's a round nose bullet. Good looking round nose bullet. Close range hunting stuff. And let's talk a little about the 8mm Mauser. I don't know what you know of its history, but here's a cartridge here. This is a dummy, and you're going to find a couple different head stamps in my bunch. This is a Super X 3006 that's been resized down to be an 8mm Mauser. Perfectly fine, no problem with it at all. 8mm Mauser cases are a little harder to find. They're not so common. Here's another dummy cartridge. This one is with a 175 grain Sierra, and this one is in an old Winchester. Let me get that in the light. There we go. Super Speed case. That's an old one. And then here's one more. This is 150 grain. That's about as light as they... Well, there was a 125 made for a while, but nowadays 150 is the lowest you find in 8mm. And these are the JS's. Dirty pocket. What? Super Speed 8mm. These are the JS's. The original 8mm, designed by Paul Mauser back in 1888. It's one of the oldest original cartridges. Was brought out for their new military rifle, for the Germany's new military rifle, the Model 888. And it had a 318 bore. Those are known as the J's. That's an 8mm J. About 1905, they made the change to a different style bullet and up the diameter to 323. So from 1905 on, they're known as JS's. It's the most common, obviously. It's been the longest running. The J's were only run for those, 7 years? But there's still rifles around, so that's why all loading manuals always tell you to slug your barrel, make sure you know what you have for a barrel before you start loading bullets, because it would be bad to shoot 323s in a 318, and although you can't find jacketed bullets in 318, you certainly could cast them. You wouldn't have very good performance or accuracy with a 318 bullet and a 323 bore. What we have here is a couple of cast bullets that I have. The purple one is a newer mold. I featured it about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago. It's a Lee mold, single cavity, and it's 240 grains. So it's a Mondo big bullet. The brown one, I'm trying to think of its number. I can't remember its number, but it's 170 grain round nose. Laverne style, but it's not a Laverne bullet. Laverne style meaning multiple ribs changing diameters, or a tapered type bullet, but it's not a Laverne. And there's my 2 cast bullets. I intended on loading these cast bullets today, but apparently I used them up and I need to get a board or something where I can write down when I'm out of bullets. I use up bullets so that I know. So we'll get set up here. I got the seating die in the press. So I just need to set the length. I do not have a dummy for this bullet. So we've backed this stem off and we'll seat a bullet and we will seat it down until we get the dimension that we like, that we want. All right, that hardly pushed it in a little bit. And you can see we're still quite a bit long. Let me zoom in on there for you so that you can be a little more close to what I'm doing with it, if I don't block the camera too much. And I'm just dropping the stem down and seating the bullet until I get to a depth that I like, and the depth that I'm looking for is right at the cantilever there, just below the cantilever. And let's see what the book tells us, because I've got the book open here, and the book gives us a 2890 overall length, 2.890. I'm just checking 0. No reason for it to change, but sometimes things happen. So we are at 2921, and that's because we're not seated into that cantilever. Now that's going to be fine. That's not going to be a problem, probably, but I'm going to run it into the gun, but I'm going to do it in a safe place, so you stand by. I got a little snail drum where I can stick the muzzle in and close the chamber. And of course I didn't fire it. It's only rated for handguns, but it would have been a lot safer, and it is a loaded cartridge, so we want to make sure we're safe. So there we go. There's our set length. Everything is good. Let's double check that, because I didn't check that for sure. So what we're going to do is take the cartridge we know is good, run that down in, and get another measurement on here. And that measurement we're looking for is 2.920. Let's take another one. Now this one is probably going to be long. They usually are, because we set it off the length of that cartridge. And see there? Long. I figured we would be. That's typical, because we didn't seat this bullet at that setting. We set it at the setting off the nose of the other one. And there always is, sorry, we're a little bit short. There always is a difference. We're not short enough for it to be a problem. I'm just going to give it just a little bit. We'll try one more. .2920 on the nose. Okay, I'm going to set you into speedy mode, and I will seat the rest of these bullets. And here's the last one. And what you watched me do there is something that I should have done before I charged it with powder, but I missed the first few because they felt good in my hand. And what I mean by that is I run the powder measure and I just check out my case, running my fingers over it before I get the powder ready to dump in, and everything was smooth and nice. Well, I didn't think. I like to chamfer. They didn't need trimming. They were they were okay. I like to chamfer the inside of the case mouths. It helps with that right there. It helps that bullet sit right there in the case nicely. And it also eliminates any hard seating or any resistance in seating. It makes the bullet seat smoother and easier. Not that a burr can create enough resistance to be a problem by any means, but it can create resistance. We really strive to get our neck tension as consistent as we can. So if you're not deburring, let's say you're using, brand new case, and you're not deburring, you're going to get some resistance seating and pulling that bullet out simply because you've got a burr on the mouth of that case. So if you take that burr off, just chamfer a little bit, you've made it consistent, smoother. Now you could argue that if I don't do any of them, aren't they all going to be consistent because they're all going to have a burr? Well, yeah, but no, because the burr isn't the same. You may have a big burr on one, a little burr on another, no burr on a third one. When you chamfer them, they all have the same chamfer. So they're more consistent, more likely to be consistent. And there we go. Well, there is all our bullets. Now let's move the camera and I want to show you how I mark them so that I don't mix anything. I got you moved to the overhead view. So I keep these in lots of 5. That's how I do them. I usually shoot 3-shot groups to prove the accuracy. And then I come back when I find the most accurate in the 3-shot groups. I come back with another loading and I will hit a little above and a little below in tenths of that charge weight. And then I'll shoot 5-shot groups and then I'll chronograph things and see if I like what I see. So now we've got the highest charge weight to the lowest charge weight. We got one extra bullet in the lowest charge weight. So I don't like to write on the side of my case because it can get smudged off and you can lose it. But I do like to mark the base of the case. Now you can do this any way you want. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate different unique marks. So you can paint the primer, you can half paint the primer, you can put a line across it, all kinds of things, different colors. So the top load I always give solid. So let's give it solid. I'm just going to do the whole base of the case red. It's a top load. It's expected that way. Red, red beware, red take heed. There's something going on here that requires your attention. And in this case, it's the maximum load. Just a really quick swipe with the magic marker. And this rubs right off, and it comes right off easily in the tumbler when you wash your brass or tumble your brass before your next firing. So it's going to be gone. If you mark just the primers, obviously they're going to be gone because you punch the primer out. All right, so here's the next load of 5. We got to do these different. So let's do half. Half a case. Now you saw that's a different piece of brass. I had a couple of pieces of nickel that I threw in here. And ideally, you want to run all the same kind of brass, the same amount of firings on the brass, and the same brand of brass. And kind and brand don't necessarily mean exactly what they say. Here's a UMC. This is a very old Remington. I almost marked that wrong. This is a very old Remington, opposed to a newer Remington that'll say RP, or an older Peters that just says Peters. Winchester, Super Speed, Super X, Winchester. All three different eras, 3 different cases, all Winchester, but different. Okay, so now we need the next line. So let's just do one line right across the whole base of the case. You could decide this for yourself, what you want to do. Doesn't make any difference. It's just a reference, something unique to you. See there? There's our low primer. Not a problem. It's supposed to be low. But I want to make sure it gets marked. Now, there's a different color primer. This was some primed brass that I had in the cabinet. It's going to be fine for this, but ideally, you'd like it all the same so that you're not introducing something that may cause an inaccuracy simply from consistency. So here's the next one. I'm just going to ring the primer. So just a ring of red. And Sharpies are great for this. And then with me, the lightest load usually gets nothing because it's already different. It doesn't have marks, so it's different. And then I like to use scraps of paper. And I write the load on it. I don't know where my straight edge is. I had a straight edge here. Makes it easier to rip straight with a straight edge. We'll try it this way. Not great, good enough. I do have scissors, but they're not for long cuts, they're for short cuts. So we're going to just cut this right up the middle. We got two pieces of paper here, one for the next one and one for this one. So what are we going to write on here? We're going to write on here notes for ourselves. Doesn't need the whole load data because this is just what's going in the box. So we're going to write silver, could write none, and that was 48, 48 and a half, 49, 49 and a half, 50. 50 was tops, 43, 20. 50 was tops, 50.2. 50.5, 50. 49.5, 49, 48.5. Let's see what I did with this last one. Talking to you guys. All right, why are you going to give me problems? Make me push it 15 times to get my answer. All right, we can give these the rest of the way. So we get a red ring, and then we've got a slash, and then we got a C, and then we've got a complete donut. Each of these is a load. Okay, so 48 was our low load. There we go. Now, this goes in the box with the bullets. I like to keep a log of all my loads, and that's this right here. So I just write it on the page. 8mm Mauser. And it's, of course, you guys are seeing this. I almost wrote 04. Primer size is large rifle, standard. Powder was 4320 IMR. Powder weight, variable. The bullet is a Hornady 170 round nose. Cases were mixed. Overall length was 2.920. And then here's our load. None or silver. .48 grains. Ring was 49.8. 48.5. Slash was 49.0. C was 49.5. And the donut was 50.0. Hornady max was 50.3, 50.2. What is it? 50.2. You get all kinds of room here for notes. And you can come back and put the favorite load down for the next loading. And usually what I'll do there is I'll put a asterisk 1, asterisk 2 for the second, third loading, so that I have a reference of that. So 200, 673, 200, 674 for the next time. Now I've got a record that I keep here in my reloading room. I've got enough of a record over there. I've got another number I can put on here, which was, I already forgot it, 200 and 673. And now I can reference that load. I like to put it on a sticker and put it on the box. And there you go. That is how I go about building a ladder load for a caliber. Now again, I'm sure there's no YouTube monitors lasting this long if they've okayed everything. But this is not a complete loading. All we did was charge powder and seat bullets. All the other steps that required us to get to that point were done off screen, off video, privately. Everything is safe, contained. And there we go. This was data out of the latest 11th edition Hornady manual under 8x57 Mauser with 170 grain interlock bullet. There we go. We will have a range time pretty quick, and that'll be coming after this video, day or 3. And I hope you enjoyed it. God bless everybody. CW out.